Regular meeting of the Hubbardston Planning Board at 6:36 PM. Planning Board meetings are broadcast live and digitally recorded. This meeting is being held both in person and virtually through Google Meets pursuant to Section 20 of the Acts of 2021, allowing public meetings to be conducted remotely so that board and committee members, as well as members of the public, can participate remotely. And noting for the record that that the applicant is appearing virtually tonight through Google Meet. Moving.
Sidebar. Has he been sworn in? Since the last meeting. So otherwise he cannot participate in this special.
So we're just addressing a point of order.
Yeah. Were you sworn in?
Since we were voted in last.
Originally.
Yeah, but not for this term.
Does the
haven't been
select board?
notified.
The select board did vote to appoint.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. No one let me know. What shall I do?
Let's.
Can you swear me in?
No, the
Town clerk needs
the
to do
town
that.
clerk or acting town clerk needs to.
But to be fair, she is out all of this week.
Well, that might make Nate the acting town clerk.
So that means I'm not authorized to sign the plan?
Well, let's get a message over to Nate. I know Nate is planning on coming to our meeting after he finishes another meeting he's currently at.
Okay.
It's just a technicality. I just wanna make sure that since we're going to a special meeting session and you were part of the original session, but you transitioned into this new year, that you are fully vetted as the individual and we're not gonna have issues or problems.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No offense to.
That's
no,
why,
I don't want-
that's why I.
So,
I don't
Damon.
like typos either.
Yeah.
Damon, just to make sure you hear and understand the conversation that we're having, because we have to rely on the alternate for the vote tonight, we're making sure that the town did everything it needed to do to have the alternate be eligible, and that way somebody doesn't use it to challenge any approvals or any signatures. I just sent a message to the town administrator, who's supposed to be coming over to the meeting in a little bit.
And maybe we can take things out of order until Nate is back.
I put this towards the end anyways, just in case.
Okay, so let's, yeah, we're gonna run with some of our administrative matters, that we gotta get through. So hang tight and we'll hopefully have, we'll have an answer from our TA shortly on it. So.
All right, thanks.
Moving along on the agenda, after addressing that point of order, we have the call for public comments. Is there any member of the public that is here to comment on any issue, either virtually or online? Seeing none, we're advancing on the agenda, which is acceptance of the minutes from the previous meeting. Now, the minutes were distributed to everybody on the planning board through the Google Drive. And is there also a copy in the binder?
There is.
Oh, and there's also a copy in everybody's binder. So, would a member like to make a motion and then we'll have discussions for edits?
Sure, I'll make the motion that we accept the planning board meeting minutes of June 20th, 2024 as presented.
Hearing a first, do we have a second?
I will second.
All right, and calling for discussion on any corrections or edits.
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chair, I still need a few more minutes just to
Yep,
completely
not a problem.
review it because my laptop just was rebooted. I have no further issues with it, so go ahead.
All right, any further discussion or comments or corrections? All right, calling for a vote, and this is just a standard vote because we don't have any members online.
Schneider, aye.
Dak, aye.
and the chair is aye. The minutes are accepted. All right, moving down on the list, we have the issue tracker. And the issue tracker is in the back of everybody's binder. And this is something that we last looked at about a year ago. And I really wanna have kind of an introductory discussion to this tonight. I don't think we're gonna move on, well, we're not gonna move on digging in deep and editing this tonight. But the short is I would like to have us look at this as a board again. There's a couple reasons I think it's timely. The first one being is we have a whole bunch of grants that we've asked for, and a lot of those are pending. And we need to come up with a plan on what we're gonna make a strategic priority if we get those, and if we don't get those, what are our strategic priorities gonna be again? So because we haven't really had a strategic discussion in a while, I put this on the agenda for tonight, to at least, to draw attention to that. I'm gonna come back to this at a future meeting, but I wanted to take the opportunity while we're in person to talk about it. So there's two documents. One is the strategic and tactical plan exhibit, which for a while we were attaching to our agenda. The other one is a list of possible DLTA projects. So I wanna make sure everybody takes these home out of their binder and takes a look at them and spends some time thinking about, well, what's really important to you? What do you think the planning board should be investing its efforts in? What bylaws do you think we have issues with, we need to fix? What do you think's working great? I just wanna flag everybody to at least start that as a self-assessment, so that we can then start talking about it as an organization. So, I don't wanna spend a ton of time talking about this tonight, but if anybody has anything they would like to say, or that they would like to suggest that we should look at in particular and focus on, please feel free. And Peter, even though you're on as an associate for something like this, you're a full part of the discussion in terms of the strategic plan, so we very much care about your opinion on it.
Thank you.
So, does anybody have anything to add to that? All right, I would, it's slightly out of order. This was gonna be under matters reasonably not anticipated by chair, but because it's related to this. Nate and I have been in conversations with really a couple towns on trying to do some form of shared planner, so that we could have somebody assisting us with some of the strategic level issues in addition to the support that Patricia's given us. We just got word back from one of the towns that we're working with, it looks like it's not gonna work out with them. So we're gonna be looking for other options. Specifically, we're going to ask our consultant if he has any referrals, and we're also gonna reach back out to the regional planning organizations and see if they have any referrals for anybody who either on a consulting basis or as a part-time planner could help us with trying to eat some of this elephant, so.
I've never tasted elephant.
Yeah. So that's that. Moving down on administrative matters, we have the planning board appointments to other boards and committees. Now, this is actually attached as an exhibit to the tracker, but we need to renew our appointments of delegates to other committees. So, excuse me. The version that's in this document, I believe, is actually out of date, but it still has a listing of all the places where we need to send people as a planning board. The first place being the Affordable Housing Committee, because as of the current moment, I believe we actually have Erica as our appointee to that. So let's take that one first. Erica, would you like to stay on? Is there
I would
anybody else
very much
interested?
like to stay on that.
Okay. Is there anybody who's super excited about affordable housing and wants to challenge?
Not at all. Thank you for doing that.
Come on. That's good.
All right, so Economic Development Committee. This meets once a month. My long-term project with them is over, so if anybody else was super excited about the Economic Development Committee, I would be happy to give that spot up to someone else. But if nobody else is looking for that spot, I would continue on for another year. But would very happily give it up, especially with my increased commitments to MRPC.
I cannot take that over, I'm sorry, but
So seeing a whole bunch of heads being shook around the room, I'm gonna stay on for another year with that. So Town Administrator Search Committee, that's obviously concluded, but there's a new committee. And the new committee is the, Francois, what's the name of it? It's the
It's a-
fiber
yeah, it's-
modernization, anyways, the short of what it is Verizon actually approached the town
Yeah.
and said, we would like to be a partner with you in applying for grant money to get fiber.
Hubbardston Digital Connectivity Task Force.
Yes, the Hubbardston Digital Connectivity Task Force. But yeah, the story behind that is Verizon had approached the town and said that they would like to be a co-applicant and join us in the grant process to go for grant funding to get fiber optic connections in Hubbardston for hopefully everybody. So that's something that would have a pretty big impact in the town. I mean, good quality internet connection even impacts real estate values, so it's gonna be a pretty meaningful post. Now, the description for it is the planning board is supposed to send its chair or a representative that is a delegate of the chair. I would like to see, do we have anybody who is willing to be a delegate of the chair? I think, Francois, you've already been put on that as a citizen, so we would actually be sending two representatives to this.
Oh, well, I put my name in the pool, and Nate said he was gonna do it anyway, so I can either represent this board or be there as an individual contributor, as a member of the town.
I think the way it's written, they would like us to send two folks, so either myself or a designee of myself in addition to.
I didn't read it that way. I read it as one person
Okay. Well,
from the
let's-
planning board, really.
Let's leave it as it is, and we'll just go.
We already have somebody, that's my.
Yeah, we'll just go with the charter that the select board has, which is, if Francois is as a citizen, I can just show up to some of the meetings, because that, I'm
Yeah.
already delegated to it. Okay. So, the next one is MRPC representative. I very much would like to stay on as that, and it's also in our interest to keep me on as that, because I've actually just been elected as vice chair of the commission. So,
Good job.
we're making some traction over there, so we should stay the course.
Mhm.
And hopefully that'll be good for our relationship with MRPC, and that should have benefits for the town, because we've been investing some years into getting that ship going the right direction, and I think we're finally getting it that way. So, unless anybody who's super passionate about it would like to challenge. So the next one is, there's an alternative representative for MRPC, and that person is actually a representative of, it's an alternative representative. By custom, we've done it as somebody who is also a representative of the select board, and at the current moment, that is Patricia. And I think we should continue our recommendation to the select board on that. All right, moving down, we have the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee representative. And this is a committee that meets the second Wednesday of every month at 2:30. And for an example of what this does, our downtown project came out of this committee, for somebody hearing a grant opportunity and sticking their hand up and being like, yeah, I'd like to talk about that. I think it was actually Dan. But it's important that we have people at it. Now, Travis, I believe, should also be going to this. I don't know if he currently is. But we are also supposed to have a planning board representative. I believe the current nominee is Erica. But, Erica, I don't know if you want to continue on or
I thought it was you for some reason. Are you in? No. That's a super tough time for me.
Peter, how would you feel about being the planning board's representative to the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee? All you gotta do is you gotta listen in to a phone call once a month. And
Okay.
if it sounds like there's an opportunity for us to get money, bring it back to Nate, the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so CPC, where did,
I'm a member of that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to continue being a member of that group.
okay. And does anybody wanna challenge on that one?
Please don't.
Okay, how about
It's a good group though.
CIPC?
Well, I was part of it last year and I appreciate Peter jumping in while I was away on my travels last year, so I don't know if you find it interesting enough that you would like to continue doing it yourself, or I can take it on and Junior and I can.
No, thank you, you can take it on.
Okay.
My service is as an alternate. I've got other responsibilities in my life as well, so I'm
I-
looking to expand my role here.
All right, so that is the list. What about what?
ARPA?
ARPA's dead.
ARPA's, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
That's dead.
And the Agriculture Accessory Committee is also dead.
Yep. All right, so, somebody like to make a motion to approve the slate as discussed in the meeting, as our recommendation to the select board for these positions, or our appointment where applicable.
So moved.
Heard a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Calling a vote,
Steiger, aye?
DAC aye.
and the chair is aye. So thank you all for being willing to serve for something. It definitely helps a lot, and being able to share the load matters a lot. One of the things that I've come to realize since stepping up as chair is it feels like there's always more to do and that I'm behind, and on a slow week I'm putting 15 hours into this. And Alice must have been putting in 30, 40 hours a week with all of the balls that she had in the air, and that's not sustainable for anybody. But kudos to Alice. All right, so next on the list, and let me check and see if there's a message back from Nate. Nate called me. Maybe Nate wasn't planning on being at the meeting. Could you step out and call Nate and ask that question? Okay. So, next on the administrative matters is the, Administrative Rule 1. Now, we had talked about this at the previous couple meetings, and what I would like to suggest is, that we adopt the version with Mr. Murray's comments, with Mr. Murray's corrections, and that we take that and adopt it as Administrative Rule 1. Now, we had held the vote on this at the last meeting in order to give the other members a chance to opine or to hopefully show up and vote on it. Both of the other members were not able to make it tonight because they had things going on, but they did have this directly shared with them and were were afforded an opportunity to comment shortly after the meeting that we had, where we said we were gonna hold it and give them an opportunity to comment. So that is where we're currently at with it. I mean, I would love to have this go through as a 5-0 vote, but we also have an obligation to the public to keep the ship moving forward. So we kinda have to work with what we have. So what I would propose is that somebody well, let's take a look at the comments from Bill. I'd sent those out to everybody.
Yeah.
Patricia, did those get put into the meeting folder too, or?
Mhm. If not, everyone has a copy in their binder.
Oh, of Bill's comments? On the administrative rules?
No, I think it's just the administrative.
Yeah, I think it was
stuff
just the
right
regular
now.
version, so let me go, so let's talk through this.
I have a hard copy, if you make copies, photocopies.
I mean, that works too.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess, Patricia, could you make a couple of quick copies of that so that everybody, for anybody who doesn't have a computer handy.
Where's the machine now?
It's in that.
Oh, in that room.
It'll move eventually out of my office. It's my office now. This is where I live now.
Oh, really?
All right,
I didn't know
so
that.
just to look at the comments from Mr. Murray, the first couple comments are, well, the agenda should be posted on, in the office of the town clerk and or on the website 48 hours before. So that seemed like it made good sense. The other thing is there's a correction related to disorderly people. This is a good catch from Bill, because the template that I was reviewing was before some of the newer case law, and I don't think we actually have the authority to hold a disorderly person in a convenient place until the meeting is adjourned. Although it would be
I
awesome.
saw
if we
that, I was
did.
like, what?
I mean, the police station's right there. So, I suggest that we take that language out and we accept Bill's change on that, so it would then read as is stated, with the language struck out, and then obviously without Bill's comment saying, I don't think we can do that, that's pretty close to an arrest. So,
Citizens arrest.
Well, it'd be by a constable, wouldn't it?
yeah, then there were a couple adjustments to, the change to suggested notice process, on whether or not abutters need to be re-noticed. And Bill's suggestion is that we should add, if during the process there's a substantial change in the scope of the project as determined by the board, that should trigger notice, but it would be as determined by the board, so, it would be up to us to decide. As far as the financial mitigation, Bill's right, that should be proposed by the applicant if they're doing it. We shouldn't be ever saying, hey, you need to make a financial mitigation. And then, clarifying that the consultant is included within the staff in the checklist for when people are supposed to speak at a public hearing. That made sense to me too. So I don't know if anybody else has any additional questions or comments on this now. I guess just to add to it, we've been kind of informally following this for a couple months, and I have to say, it has made running these meetings so much easier and so much better, and I really, really hope we improve this. Not just for myself, for whoever sits in the seat after me.
I sent to you a version with some comments also, did you see it? It's a very basic one, it has to do with the fact that when a member of the public addresses or engages in a discussion, they have to announce not only their name, but where they live, or their involvement in the project if they don't live in Hubbardston.
No, I didn't see that.
Didn't see that?
I did not see
I think
that.
there's a couple of places where that was just not see if I can find the version that I sent you. Yeah, I sent it out on July the 8th, Administrative Rule number 1. Send it at, I'm sorry,
Yeah, that didn't come through with any attachment or anything, or else I would've shared it out to the board.
apologies then, I thought I had mentioned, I had included it, 'cause I still see the attachment. Let me see if I can open up the attachment and, they're not a
Keep
big
trying to
deal.
get a little bit.
Yeah, I will.
So essentially what you're suggesting is all people testifying before the board should address the board and board members only. Just add in a sentence there, and
Correct.
should identify
Must identify themselves by name and,
at least their
Address.
street.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
Clear.
item one, page
Was it in there?
3. Receiving testimony, identify speaker.
Yeah, it is.
You just need to add to it. Perhaps. People speaking to the board should always identify themselves before speaking.
But
Listing name and address.
I don't think we need to get that specific. Yeah, combining the two of them, I think that gets what we're looking for here.
That's
So
good.
yeah, I don't know if we need to make that change. Did anybody else have any other thoughts or comments on it?
Nope, thank you very much for doing this.
Alright, would somebody like to make a motion to accept the Hubbardston Planning Board Administrative Rule 1, including the edits from the Planning Board Consultant to be adopted as an administrative rule of this planning board?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Alright, any further discussion? Alright, calling a vote.
Schneider, aye.
Jack, aye.
And Monroe, aye. The Administrative Rule 1, with the changes provided by Places Associates, has been accepted and is now the rule of the planning board. Okay, so.
That'd be a good idea, Mr. Chair, to put those somewhere up on the,
Oh, we're good.
on the website.
Yeah.
They're ready to go, it's just I have to make the edits provided by Mr. Murray,
Yep.
put the correct date when it was adopted, and then I just have to hit publish and then
Yep.
we'll just-
Do you
Good
have to
point.
file that with the town clerk?
I will double check with Nate and Mel, I do believe I have to, and it just goes into our file with
Yeah, right.
everything else.
Alright, so let's recess for 5 minutes while I try to get an answer to the associate member question.
Thank you.
So we'll come back into session at 7:10, hopefully to have those deliberations. So 7:10, we're in recess. We're going into recess at 7:04 until 7:10.
Sorry about this, Chris,
Oh, it's no problem. It's not something, it's something that we should have sorted. It's not
Yeah.
something that we would expect you to know off the top of your head.
Oh, I go to the town clerk, June 30th.
And the clause.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'll grab them right after the meeting.
Do you want to see them?
I didn't get called, I didn't know I had to get sworn in, so I'm not legal right now to vote.
Okay, so you're okay after the meeting, then you agree to something?
Yep.
Thank you.
Trying to get Nate down here to something to swear me in.
Oh, he's the acting town clerk.
He's not gonna be there.
Yeah, 'cause Mel's out on vacation this
Right.
week, which
Is he around?
he is, I got sent voicemails.
I think he could zoom in and do it too.
Why not?
I don't
Yeah.
have the power vested in me.
Yeah.
Might tell Chris that he can zoom in and do it.
Well, the thing is we're trying to find out what's Peter's status is as associate, whether or not he has to.
How's your garden doing?
How's what?
Your garden overgrowing with all of the moisture and
Yeah, it
sun?
kinda is, yeah. I spent 2 days this last weekend harvesting honey.
Oh, great.
Oh, was that cause you can only spin honey, you take the comb out of the hive
Yeah.
and take it away from the bees, and you cut the face of it, and in order to cut the face of it, you have a very hot knife. So I have a pot of boiling water and a special comb knife, and I do it in my garage. So it was this weekend, 86, 90 degrees, right?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Boil
You
it.
didn't even need the boiling water, just leave it on the ground
That's right, sauna.
And then
outside.
you put it in a spinner and centrifugal force, the honey comes out, but
Nice.
you can only do it when it's like 85 or hotter.
Yeah.
Well, you can try, but it doesn't work very well.
Yeah. I
You
bet.
seen the bear meandering around your area?
I have, yeah, but I don't have any hives in my yard, one's just across the street.
Yeah, I heard from, our neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
got
have,
3 gallons,
That's great.
yeah.
are you, you have 1 or 2 hives there?
I have 2.
2 hives?
One is in Chelmsford.
Okay, are you
I have the dog, we have a new puppy, he's a year old. And I have an electric fence around my beehives, I don't
Okay.
want him to run into the stock
Okay.
fence, it's made for
Sounds good.
cattle.
Yeah.
My wife would not appreciate that.
No.
I've got
Could he zoom in to do that? He could, right?
You can do anything over Zoom.
Apparently there's a provision under COVID where he can, that hasn't been withdrawn, where Nate can declare somebody sworn in subject to affirmation by the town clerk.
Oh, perfect.
And you just received that?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, we'll ask the applicant if he's comfortable with that, if not, reschedule it.
You could also ask the applicant if he's willing to accept the rule of necessity.
But, yeah.
Because the only other option is to continue.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta wait 2 minutes anyways.
I remember the Hubbardston Board of Selectmen had a member of the DPW as a member of the board when there were only 3 members. And they had to invoke the rule of necessity frequently.
Town clerk's also on vacation for the week.
So how's vice chairship of MRPC?
See, it's only been 1 meeting, this is a surprise.
Lots of professional staff.
Oh, yeah. They're almost back at appropriate staffing. They've been down like 3 planners for years. That's part of why their projects have been so kind of off
Yeah,
track.
I'm sure.
But they're expecting to hire the last 2 planners. They had to come way up on what they were paying in order to get people.
Oh.
I know a planner who's looking for a job, so.
Every town is having trouble hiring.
Oh, no, she's an actual planner looking for a job. And I was like, girl, just stick put your application, your resume out there.
Yeah, all of the RPAs, I always mess that up. All of the regional planning organizations. It is RPA, even though they're regional planning organization, right?
Agency, yeah.
Yeah.
Agency. Yeah.
But yeah, they're all hiring, every single one of them.
Yeah.
There's not one that isn't hiring.
As are a ton of towns.
Yeah.
Well, she's leaving the town of Chelmsford.
All right, well, calling the meeting back to order at 7:10 and going back on the record. So the next item on our deliberations is, or rather, the next item on our agenda is deliberations on draft special permit from Royal Sun. All right, Damon, are you with us? Damon?
He's still there, it's just, I don't know if he walked away
Yeah.
from his phone.
Is our audio going through?
Our audio is going through.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I can see the.
Damon, are you with us?
Oh, yeah, Damon's here.
Okay. So we have a question for you. Well, I guess just to get this matter caught up so anybody in the public watching knows what's going on. We had held this matter for a public hearing at our last meeting, and we needed time. And while we were holding it as a public hearing, we collected evidence related to the application from both the applicant, from the planning board's consultant. We also had a call for public testimony. There was no public testimony that was given. We then closed the public hearing, which means that we're no longer accepting new evidence on the application. We're just here for deliberation for the planning board, and to review a possible, to review the draft special permit, which has been circulated to the applicant and was originally drafted by the planning board's consultant. All right, so now that we have that caught up for the record and for the public, Damon, we have a question, and it ultimately falls on you to decide. So, we have 3 regular members and our associate member here at the meeting tonight, which means our associate member will need to vote. Now, our associate member has been on the board and was recently reappointed by the select board, but hasn't yet been sworn in by the town clerk because the clerk was on vacation. Now, I did just call our town administrator, who informed me that, that under the COVID rules, that we could proceed with town administrator authorization, and that we also could under the doctrine of necessity. But ultimately, I wanted to put the question up to you because it is something that, that somebody could potentially challenge. Now, whether or not they would successfully challenge it, I'm not giving you any kind of legal advice on that. That's ultimately up for you to make your own determination, but as the chair of the board, I wanted to throw the decision to you, ultimately on whether or not you want us to proceed and take the vote with what somebody could potentially claim as a defect, or whether you'd prefer us to continue to our next meeting. Did you hear all that, Damon?
Yeah, sorry, I was
Okay.
responding on mute. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. We can just continue to the next meeting.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah, and that's certainly the safest way to do it.
Alright.
So
Okay.
what are we looking at for our next meeting? I know if we were to just do it traditionally by the calendar, it'd be next Thursday. But I don't think,
It would be the 25th.
so let me take a look at my calendar because I think I might be traveling the 25th. Because I will not be available the 25th. So we could go to the following Wednesday.
If you want, we can do the 18th too, the slate conference room's kind of big.
Okay, so I guess throwing it out to the board and throwing it out to the applicant, the 2 options are
July 18th
either
or the 31st.
either August 7th or July 18th. So how does that work for the board to start with?
Do you need me physically here?
No, virtual attendance is fine.
You would just have to stop by my office to sign the paperwork.
Yeah, you'd have to sign it at some
Sure.
point. You'd have to sign the paperwork at some point, so that.
That I
could be
can do,
held
it's
for-
just that I am not sure I can be there that particular day, or that particular evening. We have family coming in, and so may not be able to make that meeting on the 18th. So as long as I can do it virtually, and then later on come in and sign.
So the 18th or the 7th works for you, Erica and Peter,
Yeah,
I guess.
Either's fine.
Right. So Damon, the 18th or the 7th, would.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, so why don't we do it for the 18th, so we can get this done with? Yep, Mr. Murray?
So, at the last meeting, you administratively continued
We're gonna
his
need to do that,
special
yeah.
permit.
Yeah, didn't, the administrative continuance, didn't we do that? We put in a safety margin, I thought.
Yeah. I think you did.
What
The
was
very first, when we had to continue the public hearing.
I'm just looking at the minutes to see.
I don't think it was the very first.
Oh, it was the very first one.
It was the continuance for.
Mr. Schmidt, do you remember when we did the administrative continuance of the permit until?
You filed it at the town clerk.
Damon?
Yeah,
Say that again?
Do you remember what the date we did the administrative continuance was until? Cause we did
No,
administrative
sorry.
extension, so I'm just trying to find that to see if we need to do it again.
25th,
We did it until the 25th?
my notes say.
Okay.
yes, July 25th.
Yeah, so we did the administrative continuance to the 25th, so, so we're fine. Okay. All right, so we're gonna table this issue, until the 18th, was it? We just decided?
Yes.
The 18th.
Mr. Murray?
Does that work for you?
You're gonna vote, right? Vote to continue.
Well, it's not a public hearing anymore, it's just an agenda item.
It's a grant of a continuance, an acceptance of a continuance, an extension of a permit process. I would recommend you vote.
I mean, we can. Somebody wanna make that motion?
So moved.
Here in a second, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a first and a second, any discussion? All right, calling a vote,
Steiger, aye.
Dak, aye.
and the chair is aye.
Thanks.
Can you say that motion one more time for me? I'm so sorry. I didn't hear all of it.
It's a standard continuance.
Okay.
Yep.
motion.
To continue to a time, date, and place certain.
Yeah. It'd be continued deliberations, and so,
Okay. Thanks.
yeah, and we're not even close to 90 days from close the public hearing, so, we're in good shape. Well, sorry about that, Mr. Schmidt, but I do believe that you likely elected the safer course in case there's a challenge. Mr. Murray, did you have any?
I just didn't know if Damon had any comments on the draft that we could incorporate
Yeah.
before then.
Damon, did you have any
that's
comments on the
good.
draft?
Nope, that's great.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so that is tabled until our next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so moving down the agenda.
Ready to go. Ready to be.
So,
You got Peter's comments?
I got Peter's
Um,
comments, I got my own comments, I went line by line with a highlighter,
Wow.
and I found the typos, I
Alright.
fixed them, and then you're all set.
That's why you have to clean that.
And I have the clean copy, this is the copy, not
so
a copy.
back to matters not reasonably anticipated by chair. Yeah, so we were in discussions with a couple towns, and one of the towns just fell through. We're still looking. We're very much trying to find somebody to work with us on a regular basis on some of the high-level strategic stuff. MRPC, because they've been short planners, have been tough about who they've been giving out DLTA grants to, although they have offered to sell us planning hours if we would like to purchase them. Which, who knows, maybe that is a way we end up, as long as we were to appropriately scope things ahead of time. But I would like to try to find somebody who's more involved on a regular basis, so that it's a long-term guiding hand instead of something somewhat episodic, especially since we still have some pretty meaningful stuff that we have to fix with the master plan. So, is there anything else under matters not reasonably anticipated by chair? I think that's it. Oh, yeah, is that a done deal yet?
I signed the paperwork and Mel, I'm just waiting for Mel to swear me in because she's
Oh,
on
okay.
vacation.
We're also, I guess also under matters not reasonably anticipated by chair, we're now sharing Patricia with the select board, as the executive assistant to the select board, so.
Just another hat.
All right, so I believe that
Don't
includes.
slack off.
I won't, I promise, I won't.
All right, so as is tradition, calling for any additional public comment or any comment from the board or any issues the board would like to raise up or have us put on the next agenda. All right, hearing none from the room or online, would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn our meeting.
Hearing a first, do we have a second?
I will second.
Hearing a first and a second, it's non-debatable, so calling a vote.
Shall you right?
Dak, aye.
And the chair is aye. We are adjourned at 7:22.